I want to get your thoughts. You and I haven't talked about Aaron. Where do you come out generally on Aaron as a player and a guy at this point in his career and life?
Well, when we look at it, we're assuming he's going to beat out Will Howard, right, for the starting job. Like that, we're just going to go
that.
and just, well, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. No disrespect to Will Howard or anything like that. As somebody who roots for the Chicago Bears, who has had a very adversarial relationship with Aaron Rodgers, like him popping off the grandmothers in the crowd, doing the whole like I own you and all that stuff. The thing that makes that so defeating,
he did though, right?
But he did. Like that's the thing. Like everything about like the one moment about Aaron Rodgers I'll never forget is the day, 2018. The Bears are up 20-0. Aaron Rodgers is going to the locker room on the cart, and you're like, oh my God, did we finally end this? And of course now Aaron Rodgers returns, wins the game, mostly because Kyle Fuller dropped what should have been a pick six, which would have. And we could go through I have a butterfly effect, but I won't bore everybody here because I want to focus on Aaron Rodgers. And here's the one thing, like people don't like him. I don't like him for on the field reasons. I don't want to get into his whole thing with, his family or anything like that. As an on the field, as somebody who he played for a team that always beat my favorite team, I did not like him. But as an objective NFL observer, and I know a lot of people because they don't like his public appearances.
Dude, there's nothing objective about you as an NFL observer. No. You're the biggest Bears honk ever. When did you become an objective, respectfully? When did you become an objective NFL observer?
Fair. But with all due respect to Aaron Rodgers, like the dude nearly threw for 4,000 yards last season. It was like 3,800. Forgive me if I don't have these numbers exactly right, but I think it was 28 touchdowns with 10 or 11. He had double-digit interceptions. I know it's the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
He had double-digit interceptions. He played pretty well. Like, he actually wasn't a bad quarterback with everything that was going wrong with the New York Jets. He actually wasn't bad. And now he's going to a situation with Pittsburgh, and I think it would have been a lot of fun if they would have held on to George Pickens, so they could have had DK Metcalf and George Pickens and Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin trying to hold that together. But at the same time, Mike Tomlin at one point had a locker room that had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and he made that work. Like he did. He made that work. It wasn't until those guys left Pittsburgh that you were like, oh my God, they're nuts. You're like, Mike Tomlin held it together. And this is, I know, like, I'm torn on this because Mike Tomlin needs to make one last run because he's not going to sit there and go through a rebuild. Like when we were talking yesterday about Paul Skeens, like, should you blow it up and move on? And in some respects with the Pittsburgh Steelers, you wonder, like, should they blow it up and move on? But you know what? They're always competitive. They're always in there. Aaron Rodgers should make them better. And I look back to what Brett Favre did when he went from New York, and he was not great in New York, goes to Minnesota and gets them to the NFC Championship game. So now I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what's funny is a couple of weeks ago, I was at NFL.com doing my season predictions and being like, this is the first year they won't make the playoffs or they won't be above 500. I'm like, oh, geez. Because I really do believe they are better with Aaron Rodgers. And you can be upset with him for his darkness retreats, for whatever Danica Patrick's saying about him. The dude can still play football. He proved it last year. And I think that he makes the Pittsburgh Steelers better. And I think that if they would have gone into the season with Will Howard and Mason Rudolph, they might not have finished above 500. I think he makes them much better.
I think, it's interesting. The numbers do reflect him having a pretty productive year. I think personally, the numbers are kind of hollow. I don't know how indicative they are of his quality play because you're right. On paper, he looks like he had a pretty good year. 3,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 picks. But I'm not sure. I think a lot of that came in garbage time. I think a lot of that came when it didn't really matter. They obviously chose Justin Fields over him. They felt like he wasn't worth it. But yeah. There's a reason why they were 5-12. I'm not putting it all on him, but there's a reason why they moved on. So the question is Pittsburgh better with him than they were without him? Is it an upgrade? How much of an upgrade is it? I don't really know. Like, we know where they are. They're stuck. You're right. They don't want to tear it down. They don't want to rebuild. Yeah. And every single year, they have a winning record. But what does that get them? So they go 9-8. They go 10-7. They get to the first round. They get to the wild card round. They get their doors blown. And then everybody points to, and I'm guilty of this, Mike Tomlin, 100%. Man, hell of a coach. Hell of a coach. Going to be a Hall of Fame coach. Never has a losing record. But every Steeler fan hates the guy. Like, I'm here in California constantly defending this guy, and every Steeler fan is hitting me up with, yo, national sports guy, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You don't know what's going on here locally. We don't want him. We don't want him. I'm like, all right, fine. But every player I talk to on that team and other guys around the league love him. So which one is it? They're kind of stuck in no man's land, right? So in your opinion, Aaron Rodgers a guy, if he stays healthy, can he get them to the playoffs and win a playoff game this year?
Absolutely. I truly believe that, because I feel like they drafted really well too. They got Caleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa. I think he comes in there. Like, now, I know the fantasy geeks are being like, Rank, give me a quick take. Okay. Caleb Johnson.
Feed him, man. Feed that beast. Feed that beast. Give them what they want.
Go get Caleb Johnson now. You can go draft Caleb Johnson. You're going to upgrade DK Metcalf. I like drafting Jack Sawyer too. Like, I thought they did really well in the draft, and it's a one-year deal for Aaron Rodgers. And I think this is the last stand for everybody. If this was like a Hollywood movie, this is Mike Tomlin's last chance, because I really do believe that they might end up moving on. Because as you were sitting there talking about, like, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. Now, you grew up a Steelers fan, but you remember during the tail end of Tom Landry's career with the Dallas Cowboys, they would always ride that graphic on CBS. Pat Summerall would be like, the Cowboys have not had a losing season since 1968. And you're like, yeah, but they don't win Super Bowls. What does it really matter? And Pittsburgh is in that realm. And so right now, this makes the most sense. Like, Mike Tomlin's coming back. Like, it's too late to get rid of Mike Tomlin. It's too late to blow it up and start over. This was your best available option. And I think that Aaron Rodgers...
For both, man. I think they both did as well as they could do, right? That was the best available option for both, right?
Yeah. I mean, I might have leaned towards Kirk Cousins because it's less of a headache. He probably likes Primantis. I don't know. But Aaron Rodgers, I still think... I know what you were saying before about the empty calories, the passing yards, the inflated totals, and there is some of that. But going back, like, when you watched some of the throws that he was making to Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, you're like, he's still got the ability. Like, he's not prime Aaron Rodgers, but he's still better than a lot of quarterbacks who are out there. And so for me, and for all the Steeler fans, we're like, we hate winning every year. Like, root for another team. Like, spend some time rooting for a team that doesn't matter. At least the Pittsburgh Steelers are mattering. Whether they were getting eliminated in the playoffs or not, it's better than being 5-12, checking out Tankathon in week 4, worrying about draft picks or anything like that. But you know what? I would truly believe if it does not work out right now with Aaron Rodgers, I think this is it for Mike Tomlin. Aaron Rodgers will retire. They'll look for a quarterback in the draft next year, and they will go from there.
I mean, you wonder, Steeler fans are so adverse. I mean, is it just personal? Like, they don't want him. They don't want him. I'm looking hard for Steeler fans to hit me up anywhere. Call the program, hit me up on X, email me and say, hey, Rome, we're fired up. Man, we are fired up. This is a clear upgrade. This is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He can still make almost every single throw. This is good energy. We like this. I can't find any of that. And I'm not anti-Aaron in any way. You know the radio program. You know the history of the jungle and Aaron Rodgers. We were always good. So I'm not coming for Aaron, but I'm looking really hard for any Steeler fans that are saying, hell yeah, let's go. And I'm having a hard time finding it. Why do you think that is?
Even one of my because they're pessimistic, because they don't like Tomlin. Like, they're really pessimistic and they don't like Tomlin. And they, exactly as we were describing, it's a last gasp. I think a lot of Steeler fans are ready to move on. Because one of the things, too, which is, it's got to be frustrating for Steeler fans, is that because they finish with at least 9 wins every year, they're never in a position to take a quarterback.
Right.
And if you think about the way the Steelers draft and all the great play, like, think of the wide receivers that they've brought in over the years and all the great players that they've brought in, they have not, for the longest time, had the ability of having a quarterback on a rookie contract. Think about when the Seattle Seahawks were going through their little mini dynasty. A big reason why was because Russell Wilson was on his rookie deal, and they were bringing in guys like Bobby Wagner and Richard Sherman and players like that. If the Steelers were ever afforded an opportunity where they had a top-flight quarterback who was on his rookie deal, a 5-year window to then add some other pieces that they might be lacking, because they do have to let some people go, that is a team that can get back into the conversation.
Why not? Okay, granted, they never pick in a great spot, but if you want to be in that spot, why not just take a quarterback? Start the clock.
Yeah, I mean, like, who's really fallen? I don't remember over the last couple of years, like, I mean, obviously, Dak Prescott was a fourth rounder or fifth rounder. There were some guys who fall through the cracks, but nowadays, especially with the way the NFL draft is constructed, now that we don't have the Sam Bradford deals and everybody can take like Cam Ward, if Cam Ward was going to be the highest paid player in football, the Titans wouldn't have taken him. So now, whenever a team is sort of close to is this quarterback good or not? Well, it's less of a risk now. And the Steelers have never really been in a spot. I would have to go back and look and to see who are the guys they possibly could have gotten over the last number of years. And of course, they could have traded up. But I think at some point, they're going to have to blow it up. But clearly, they're going to do one last dance.
Yeah, man, they
right
just
here.
keep kicking the can down the road. They keep kicking the can down the road, and they keep saying we don't have losing seasons. We still are relevant. We're still a factor. When in reality, they're just not. They're just not. They haven't. So I agree with you.